Thank you guys for coming out today. Great to see everybody here, especially since of the week I had last week. Last week was not a good week for me. It was really rough. I had a cold, and you can kind of probably hear it a little bit. I was just trying to get over it. And I felt physically bad, just kind of weak, achy, that kind of feeling. And since I was home, I started listening to more news than I usually do. And that was a mistake. Because on the one hand, I want to stay informed and I want to hear the news and I want to listen to what's going on. But on the other hand, if it's too much, I just felt worse. Right? So I felt physically bad and just worse from the news. And actually, to put it mildly, last week, there was just a lot of extremely hard stuff going on all throughout the world. Just hard stuff. And so, like I said, I felt really bad, and I felt even worse when I just thought about it and just came to the conclusion, God, people are just so divided. We just can't not be divided, it seems. So that's why last week was rough. Physically ill, emotionally not feeling too great, mentally struggling. What do you do, right? So I did what any good red-blooded American would do. I started flipping through my Instagram. Right? And that's a dangerous thing, but in this instance, it was a great thing. Because while I was flipping through, I came across a speech that the baseball player Ken Griffey Jr., Ken Griffey Jr., Hall of Famer, he was giving a speech about a former teammate. And he was standing up front, and his teammate and some other teammates were behind him as he was talking to a stadium full of people. And everybody was there listening to Ken Griffey. And Griffey, when he started his speech, said this. He said, of all people who I would consider a brother from another mother, he said, a guy who listens to country music, wears cowboy boots and belts with those big belt buckles, and he kind of shook his head like, seriously? Who does that? And then he continued and he said, I've got 17 speakers in my car. I wear sweatsuits and listen to rap music. And he said, his friend, his teammate and him are two people who are so very far apart on every level. We are so very far apart on every level, yet we became really close. And then he went on, and this is the amazing thing. He said, there is no other person in this world other than my parents that if something ever happened to me or my wife, there's no other person that I would want to raise my kids. This person who is so far apart from him in so many ways. Well, I watched that speech over and over and over again. And every time I watched it, my heart broke wide open. It just broke my heart open. And I felt so much better. So much better about people, so much better about life, so much better about what we can do with and for one another. And I thought to myself, how did two such different people become so close? How do they become such good friends? Now, obviously, it takes time and it takes effort and it takes all the things that relationships take. But as I watched that speech over and over and over again, I got another clue as to how they could overcome their differences. You see, Ken Griffey, in his speech, was basically saying to his friend, your life truly matters. Who and what you are, even though we're different, is so important to me and matters so much to me. I'm just glad that you're here. And I thought, how beautiful life is when we can honestly say to each other, truly and honestly, you matter. Your life matters. Who you are matters. And I'm so glad that you're here. You see, this is what we're saying to Benedict today. You know, Benedict's getting baptized. Did you know that? And this is exactly what we're saying to him. Because for me anyway, the baptism is the church's way to say to him and to all of us, you matter to us. You matter to God. And we are so glad that you're here. We are so glad that you're alive. Now, thankfully, Benny hears that all the time. He gets to hear that quite a bit. I'm glad he gets to hear it here, but he gets to hear it at home as well. From his parents, certainly, yes, he does. But he also gets to hear it from, maybe even louder, he gets to hear it from his big brother and sisters. They, over and over again, say how glad they are that Benny's in their lives. Benny's mom said this about Benny. Benny's a very happy little guy, and he loves to smile and laugh unless he's not fed, which I'm with you on that, Benny. But he smiles and laughs easily, and he said that his big brother and sisters have had so much fun already watching him develop, so that when he first started smiling, they would scream. And she said, and I mean scream, when Benny smiled at them. It was, she said, at times, alarming. But also very, very sweet. You see, those screams are Benny's big brother and sister's way of saying, God, we are so glad that you're alive. We are so glad that you're here. And how beautiful life is when all of us can say to each other the same thing. You matter to me. Amen.